Good morning, everyone. Back in August, LastPass was subject to a data breach. While no customer data was accessed during that breach, some source code and technical information was taken from a development environment. And that information was used to social engineer one of their employees in order to get some access keys that allowed the attacker to access some information in their cloud repository. LastPass has two separate environments. They have their production environments where everything's running, and then they have their cloud environment, which is where backups are stored, which shows that you don't only protect your production environment, you should protect your backup environment. So with this additional information from this employee, they were able to access the cloud environment and steal the customer vaults. So what are these vaults? These vaults are like, you can think of little safes. Each of them have a combination lock on them, and only you have access to your combination lock. It's a little bit more complicated than that. LastPass actually takes your master password, does some other funky things to it to make it more difficult to guess, and then ultimately runs it through in order to encrypt and decrypt your information. That information is encrypted and decrypted at your computer and at your mobile phone, not in their environment, so they never know what your password is. That's their zero knowledge solution, exactly to prevent this. What happens is that many people reuse their master password. If they reuse their master password at another website and that website is compromised, then now the attacker can potentially use that information to decrypt your data. It also potentially could mean that if you have a weak password, that the brute force attempt can be used, running a dictionary attack, running sequence of numbers and letters until they can guess it properly. Because they have all the time in the world now, they have a copy of your vault from a backup. So even if you change your master password today, it's not going to help you with the information that was already stolen. So what can we do as users? And we're a user of LastPass, specifically me. We don't use it for customer information, but I do use it for my personal information. The threat actor will probably try to use brute force attempts to guess your master password. That's one thing that we know. But they will also use social engineering or phishing attacks against you to try to get information to get you to do something else. Even if they never get into your vault, they potentially have access to the websites that you visited based on what it was encrypted and what was not encrypted in these vaults. We know that the website URLs are not. And so what they may do is say, hey, a fake email, let's say from Chase Bank, that says, we know that you are storing your password in LastPass. We require you to change your password. Click this link immediately to change your password. So that's the risk that information will be used to try to phish you to either give up your master password or to get you to change one of the passwords that was compromised. As long as you didn't muck around with the default settings of LastPass, you're fairly safe, at least for the short term. You just need to be very diligent. What we are going to recommend our people that use LastPass, and we have a few clients that do, that you change your master password today, and then change the most sensitive accounts that are inside that system. So do that immediately. Banks, trading information, etc. Your new password, make that change as soon as you possibly can. Then over time, you can change your other passwords. Long term, are we going to continue to recommend LastPass? This is kind of a wait and see a little bit. So we're going to do our due diligence to make sure that my information, for example, is safe, and that our clients that are using LastPass have the information they need to make their information safer. However, we're going to look at alternatives. I'm just going to be brutally honest here. We don't know what is the process that LastPass is going to go through in order to repair this. We've been involved with companies that have had their information breached in the past, and they've been contained. Now, passwords are a trickier situation, obviously. We're also trying to get away from using passwords wherever possible, and this is a good way to do that. More on that in the future to discuss what a passwordless world potentially can look like. So for today, besides saying Merry Christmas to you all, use a little bit of the extra time you have, perhaps this week, to change your master passwords, review the passwords that you do have, and change the ones for the most sensitive accounts that you have, just in case the malicious actor that we have. And of course, above all, be diligent. Watch for these social engineering and phishing attempts to access your information. Be safe.